the mysterious princess of Blue Haven. Long ago, between emerald mountains, crystal blue lakes, and endless green forests, there stood a magnificent kingdom called Blue Haven. People knew it as the land of peace. It was ruled by King Alexander, a man who appeared kind and generous. But deep inside, he was consumed by greed and the desire for endless wealth. His only daughter, Princess Zoya, possessed a mysterious gift. From the day she was born, whenever she touched an ordinary object, it transformed into a rare blue crystal, a gemstone more valuable than gold. Instead of treating this gift as a blessing, the king used it to build his fortune. Every morning, soldiers filled the palace courtyard with carts loaded with iron, wood, and stone. Princess Zoya silently touched each item, and within seconds they turned into brilliant blue crystals. Before long, Blue Haven became the richest kingdom in the world. The king built enormous palaces, golden towers, powerful armies, and treasure vaults overflowing with priceless gems. But while the kingdom grew richer, Zoya's world became smaller. She was never allowed to leave the palace walls. She could not visit the villages. She had no friends. She had never walked through a marketplace or played with children her own age. The king always told her, "The outside world is dangerous. If people discover your power, they will try to steal you from me." For years, Zoya believed every word. Then one day, everything changed. She woke up feeling strangely weak. Whenever she tried to use her power, something felt different. At that very moment, a loud cry echoed through the palace gates. "Princess, please, help us!" A little girl, no older than 8 years old, rushed inside, despite the guards trying to stop her. Her clothes were torn, her feet were covered with dust, and she carried an empty clay bowl in her hands. "My mother is dying," she cried. "The healer refuses to give us medicine because we have no money. Everyone says you can create priceless crystals. Please, touch this bowl so I can save my mother." Zoya immediately stepped backward. "No, don't come any closer. My power has changed." But the frightened child stumbled over a stone. She lost her balance and fell directly toward the princess. Without thinking, Zoya reached out to catch her. The moment their hands touched, a brilliant blue light exploded across the room. The palace shook violently when the light faded. The little girl was no longer human. She had become a beautiful statue made entirely of transparent crystal. Even the tears in her eyes had frozen forever. Princess Zoya screamed in horror. At that very moment, the palace doors burst open. King Alexander entered with his ministers and soldiers. Instead of showing sadness, anger filled his face. "Take that statue away immediately," he ordered. "No one must discover that the princess's power has changed." Zoya stared at her father in disbelief. "You already knew this could happen, didn't you?" For the first time in years, the king had no answer. And for the first time in her life, Princess Zoya began to question everything she had ever believed. To be continued.
The hidden secret princess. Zoya couldn't sleep that night. The image of the little girl trapped inside a crystal statue haunted her every moment. She kept remembering the frozen tear on the child's face, wondering if she had destroyed an innocent life forever. The next morning, everything in the palace continued as if nothing had happened. As usual, dozens of carts filled with iron, stone, and wood were brought into the royal courtyard. King Alexander sat proudly on his throne. "Begin your work," he ordered. For the first time in her life, Zoya refused. "No." The entire royal court fell silent. "I won't use my power again until you tell me the truth." The king's face darkened. "You are the princess of Blue Haven. Your gift belongs to this kingdom." Zoya looked straight into his eyes. "No, my power belongs to no one. It has already hurt innocent people, and I will never allow that to happen again." Furious, the king stood up. You dare challenge your own father? I am challenging injustice, Zoya replied calmly. The king immediately ordered the guards, lock her inside her chamber. She is not to leave until she obeys. That night, while the palace slept, an elderly maid quietly entered Zoya's room. She had cared for the princess since childhood. Without saying a word, she placed a small wooden chest on the table. This belonged to your grandmother, she whispered. She told me to give it to you only when you began searching for the truth. Inside the chest, Zoya found three things: an old leather diary, a silver key, a faded map of the royal palace. With trembling hands, she opened the diary. The very first page read, "If you are reading these words, it means your father's greatest secret can no longer remain hidden." Zoya's heart began racing. She turned the page. The power you carry was never meant to create wealth. It was created to reveal the truth hidden inside every human heart. Another page contained a map leading to a secret underground chamber beneath the palace. Late that night, using the silver key, Zoya unlocked a forgotten stone door hidden behind an ancient bookshelf in the royal library. A long staircase led deep beneath the palace. The air grew colder with every step. At the bottom, she discovered a massive underground chamber filled with ancient books, mysterious symbols, glowing crystals, and strange magical artifacts. In the center of the room stood a giant stone wall. Across it were carved glowing words: "Power never changes a person. It only reveals who they truly are." Suddenly, a calm voice echoed through the darkness. "I've been waiting for you, princess." Zoya spun around. Standing in the shadows was an old man with long white hair, a flowing robe, and bright silver eyes. He slowly stepped into the light. "I know why your power has changed." Zoya took a cautious step back. "Who are you?" The old man lowered his head. "My name is Azar, and I am the one who gave you this power." The wizard's confession. Princess Zoya stood frozen. For several long moments she could not say a single word. Finally she whispered, "You gave me this power?" The old wizard nodded slowly. "Yes." Anger filled Zoya's eyes. "My entire life has been a prison because of this curse. Innocent people have suffered. Tell me the truth." Azar closed his eyes for a moment before speaking. "You deserve to know everything." He led her deeper into the underground chamber where ancient paintings covered the stone walls. One mural showed a much younger King Alexander standing before a czar. Another showed soldiers marching through burning villages. Azar sighed. 20 years ago, Blue Haven was on the edge of collapse. The kingdom had lost a terrible war. The treasury was empty, crops had failed, and people were starving. Your father feared losing his throne. So he came to me, demanding a spell that would make his kingdom richer than every other nation. I refused. Magic should never exist to satisfy greed. Zoya listened in silence. But your father would not accept my answer. He captured my family and threatened to execute them unless I obeyed. Tears filled Zoya's eyes. So, you had no choice. Azar nodded. I created the spell, but I secretly changed it. He pointed toward another ancient inscription. The magic was never designed simply to create priceless crystals. It was created to reveal the true nature of every person's heart. If someone was consumed by greed, the magic trapped them inside crystal. If someone carried hatred, cruelty, or evil, the darkness inside them would consume them. But if a person's heart was completely pure, the curse could never control them. Zoya suddenly remembered the little girl. The child. Is she dead? Azar gently smiled. No. She's only trapped inside the magic. When the curse is broken, she will return exactly as she was. Hope returned to Zoya's face. Then tell me, how do we break it? Azar remained silent for several seconds. Finally, he answered, there is only one way. Someone must willingly hold your hand, but they must expect absolutely nothing in return. No wealth, no power, no reward, not even gratitude. If the smallest trace of selfishness exists in their heart, the curse will trap them forever. But if their heart is truly selfless, the curse will disappear forever. Zoya lowered her eyes. Does such a person even exist? Azar looked toward the distant mountains. They are rare. But true kindness has never disappeared from this world. The next morning, Princess Zoya wrapped herself in a dark traveling cloak. She carried only her grandmother's diary, the ancient map, and a small bag of supplies. For the very first time in her life, she stepped beyond the palace walls. She had no idea where her journey would lead. But she knew one thing: somewhere in Blue Haven, there was still a heart pure enough to save them all. The search for a pure heart princess. Zoya and the wizard Azar traveled across Blue Haven for many days. For the first time in her life, Zoya saw her kingdom with her own eyes instead of through the palace windows. What she discovered broke her heart. The royal palace glittered with priceless blue crystals, but the villages were filled with hunger. Children walked barefoot through dusty streets. Farmers struggled to grow crops on dry fields. Families shared a single loaf of bread just to survive. Zoya stopped beside an old woman who was trying to feed 3 hungry children with the last bowl of soup she had. She quietly asked, "Why do you give them your food when you barely have enough for yourself?" The old woman smiled. "A full stomach means nothing if your neighbors are starving." Those simple words stayed in Zoya's heart. As their journey continued, they reached a peaceful farming village called Greenbrook. There they met a young farmer named Adam. Every morning, Adam worked in the fields before sunrise. After finishing his own work, he spent the rest of the day helping elderly villagers repair their homes, carrying water for widows, and sharing part of his harvest with families who had nothing. One afternoon, Zoya secretly watched him give away nearly all of his wheat to a poor family. His own barn was almost empty. Curious, she walked up to him. "You worked so hard for that harvest. Why give it away?" Adam smiled warmly. "Because food tastes better when everyone has something to eat." There was no pride in his voice, no expectation of praise. He simply believed it was the right thing to do. That evening, Azar looked at Zoya. "I believe we've found the person we've been searching for." But Zoya shook her head. "No, I can't ask him to risk his life because of my curse." Before they could decide what to do, royal soldiers surrounded the village. Their captain raised his sword. By order of King Alexander, Princess Zoya is to be captured immediately. Villagers quickly gathered around Zoya, refusing to let the soldiers reach her. Adam stepped forward and stood in front of her. "If you want to take her," he said calmly, "you'll have to go through us first." The captain hesitated. The villagers stood shoulder to shoulder. No one moved, no one ran. For the first time, the king's soldiers realized that ordinary people united by courage could be stronger than fear, but everyone knew this was only the beginning. The final test was about to begin. The final test. The next morning, thousands of people gathered in the central square of Blue Haven. The crystal statue of the little girl stood at the center of the crowd, while King Alexander arrived with his royal army. The atmosphere was filled with silence. Everyone knew that the future of the kingdom would be decided that day. The old wizard Azar stepped forward. His voice echoed across the square. "There is only one way to break the curse. Someone must willingly hold Princess Zoya's hand with a heart completely free from greed, pride, fear, or the desire for any reward. If even the smallest trace of selfishness remains, the curse will claim them forever." No one moved. Many brave soldiers looked at the princess. Several wealthy nobles stepped forward but quickly stopped. Some feared losing their lives. Others secretly imagined becoming famous or receiving a reward. One by one, they stepped back. Princess Zoya lowered her head. "It's enough," she said softly. "I won't allow anyone else to suffer because of me." She turned to leave. Suddenly, a calm voice came from the crowd. "Wait." Everyone looked back. It was Adam. The young farmer slowly walked through the crowd until he stood in front of Zoya. She immediately shook her head. "No, Adam. You don't understand. If your heart isn't completely pure, you'll be trapped forever. Adam smiled gently. My heart does have one wish. The crowd gasped. Zoya's eyes filled with fear. Then don't do this. Adam looked directly into her eyes. My only wish is to see you free. To see children laugh without fear. To see this kingdom ruled by kindness instead of greed. I want nothing for myself. Without another word, he reached out and took Princess Zoya's hand. The sky suddenly darkened. Thunder rolled across the mountains. Brilliant blue light surrounded them both. The magical energy rushed into Adam's heart, searching for greed, searching for pride, searching for selfishness. But it found nothing. There was only compassion, only courage, only the sincere desire to save another person's life. The curse had nowhere to live. With a blinding flash of light, the ancient magic shattered into thousands of glowing blue sparks that floated into the sky before disappearing forever. At that very moment, the crystal surrounding the little girl cracked. She took a deep breath and ran into her mother's arms. Cheers erupted across the kingdom. King Alexander fell to his knees. For the first time in his life, he realized the pain his greed had caused. With tears in his eyes, he removed his crown and placed it on the ground. I spent my life chasing wealth, he said quietly, but today I learned that the greatest treasure is a heart filled with kindness. The people decided that Blue Haven would never again be ruled by greed. The royal treasure was used to build schools, hospitals, bridges, clean water systems, and farms. No child would ever go hungry again. Months later, Princess Zoya stood in the royal garden as gentle rain began to fall. She stretched out her hand. A raindrop landed softly on her palm and remained nothing more than water. She smiled through happy tears. Adam handed her a fresh red apple. For a brief moment, she hesitated. Then she accepted it. The apple stayed exactly as it was. She took her first bite in many years. Its sweet taste filled her with joy. She finally understood that life's greatest treasures were never crystals, gold, or crowns. They were kindness, honesty, hope, and selfless love. And from that day forward, the people of Blue Haven told this story to every new generation. Greed can make a kingdom rich, but only kindness can make it truly great.